Nice.
Yeah. The whole time it's not. So she's going to talk first, and then I'm going to introduce Carrie. Carrie is a PT. She works for me. She runs the office up in Stafford, across from Colonial Forge and Amy Clay. She's got a doctorate in physical therapy. She's been doing this about 7 years.
11 years.
11 years now.
Yeah,
I've
7
known her
years
for
with
7
you,
years.
yeah.
So she's going to talk kind of like the injury prevention and strengthening side for girls. But this is geared, I just wanted the girls here because it's geared towards really teenage girls more than boys. We're going to do another talk hopefully soon where we'll get like the whole team and boys, general nutrition stuff. But this is just geared towards girls and girl type issues as they're growing, which is significantly different than boys. And there's so much in the media, it's super confusing for everybody. I have a master's degree. Every time you hear something in the news, you don't know what's going on. Should I eat all meat? Should I eat no meat? Should I eat high fat, low fat? You know. So hopefully she's going to kind of go through the myths and what to look for, and especially things like body image, which is big in girls of all ages, but especially middle school, high school, and especially endurance athletes, runners, swimmers, gymnasts, dancers, where weight is considered to be important. So we're going to touch on those topics as well. But I will let Laura go ahead and start. Thank you.
You got the light.
Yeah.
Hi everybody. As he just introduced me, I'll say it again. I'm Laura Heflin. Nice to meet you guys. I am a certified nutritionist for 9 years now. Wife, mom, blogger, baker, author. If you need some yummy recipes, I got plenty in my book that are healthy but don't sacrifice flavor. And yeah, so before we get started on the slide, I wanted to give you a bit of a background on me and why I'm so passionate about health and nutrition. So your ages are 6th to 8th grade, right? So the oldest here is like 14 or so, is that? Oh no, that'd be 12. I don't know, what are the ages here?
11,
13.
Okay.
11, 12.
Right, so it's the perfect age for this topic. So when I was in middle school, I suffered with really, really bad body image issues. I remember constantly looking at like the locker room at other girls and just wishing I looked like them and just really tearing myself down internally. And just honestly, I was never loving towards myself in the way I spoke to myself, and I constantly compared myself to others. My body image issues got really bad, and by the age of 18, 19, I had developed borderline anorexia. I'm gonna click it. And I ended up very, very sick. So I hid it for a while until it got bad enough where it was very noticeable. My clothes were falling off, all of that. Lost my menstrual cycle for a very long time. Ended up with severe that's later in life. That happened too. Severe anxiety and depression. So for those that don't know and maybe don't understand much about the endocrine system yet, when your menstrual cycle is messed up or your female hormones are messed up, it messes with your brain chemistry big time. And so I had to go on antidepressants and all of that. And it was a not fun road for me. I was skinnier like I wanted, but I was miserable, more miserable than ever. And by the time I got to my early 20s, I decided I was sick of being sick. And so what I did was I went back to everything I knew that I did before, but I also started researching like what my body needed to balance out. Like, what do you need for female hormone balance? What did I need? What does the body really need? Like, what do the food groups look like? I had no idea. To an extent, but I didn't understand how complex it was. So I started just going back to the basics and eating real whole foods and sleeping more. One thing I didn't mention earlier, I was exercising a lot. So on top of under eating and borderline anorexia, I was making myself work out like crazy and run like crazy on empty, okay? So it was not a good combination. And I'm hypoglycemic, so really bad combination. I'm very low blood sugar, so anyways, I decided I was sick of being sick, did Dr. Google, read books, did everything I could to research on how to heal my body. Over a period of a couple years, I did bring my body back to homeostasis, I did gain a healthy amount of weight back. And, oh, did I do something?
No.
Okay. And anyways, I started feeling so amazing, actually better than I had before, because I was eating better than I ever had before. And I think you don't realize how sick you are and how bad you feel until you feel well again. And so I said, there's something to this. You know, I felt so awful. I was so depleted, so miserable. And now I'm happier and healthier, and I got my health back and my energy back. And there's, you know, I started becoming super passionate about what the body needed. And, you know, I started getting in the kitchen more and cooking. I was a newlywed, I got married young, so I got in my kitchen. I started coming up with my own recipes and just eating as clean as possible. And my husband actually encouraged me. He said, you're so passionate about this, you're always researching, why don't you look into becoming a nutritionist? At the time I was in school for business, decided I didn't want to do that, and then I shifted to nutrition. So that was nine years ago I got certified. And I've been working, my dad is a family physician here in the area, Dr. Chris Harrington, and I work with him. My office is in his office. So it's been really fun. I get to work with my dad. Clients come from him and then outside. But, so that's the background on me, is that basically I ended up making myself sick and then healing my body through whole foods and just loving on my body, treating it well, and giving it what it needed. So that's why I'm so passionate about this. I'm really excited to be here and talk to you guys. Okay, so the main topic of tonight is the female athlete triad, and we're gonna break that down in a minute. You're all runners here, so this will be familiar to you, a lot of these topics. Okay, so I already told you who I was. All right, so I like to start with imagery. I am a very visual person. When I talk to my clients, I like to teach them in like a form of, so in a way they might understand better. So picture your car, for your body for me is a vehicle, okay? I want you to picture, I don't know if you have a car in mind that you want to drive one day when you get your license, but I want you to picture your body as that car. Okay, so if that is your body, then, and your body's a car, I'm gonna ask you 2 questions you guys can answer. I would love for you guys to answer. First of all, if you give your, I'm gonna call mine a Ferrari. I like, my husband's always wanted one, so I'll say, I'm gonna have a pink Ferrari. And I'm gonna say, if I gave my pink Ferrari cheap gasoline for years and years and years, can anybody tell me what you think would happen to my Ferrari? Would it end up maybe in the auto body shop? Maybe not functioning so well? Yes, okay. What if I decided that I was gonna go down the highway 90 miles an hour, but I had an empty tank? Do you think that would work out very well for me? Okay, no. So, if we're imagining our body is a car, is a vehicle, I want you to think of it in the same way. Can we function? Can our body give back to us, especially as runners? So we're not just doing the bare minimum here, we're running. Can we go down the highway on an empty tank and on cheap gasoline very well? No. So that's a little bit of imagery for you. I like you to just kind of picture your body in that way. So food to us can be the best form of medicine or the worst form of poison, okay? So that's something really important to remember. How much we put in our body and what we put in our body is very, very essential to how it runs for us, okay? So I'm gonna talk about the BMR and the basic metabolic rate. Before I break that down, I'm sorry, am I totally out of it?
Nope, you're in it. I was just checking. Okay.
Metabolism is the rate at which your body burns calories. Okay, simple as that. It's 25% genetics and age, 75% your control. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. Obviously, when you guys are super young, you got a really fast metabolism, and it does slow down a little bit, but there's a lot you can do when you're older to get it back up there. I'll just say that. And then your BMR is your basic metabolic rate. So this is basically the number of calories you would burn if you were laying on the couch all day. Meaning not for you to run, not for you to function, but in the way of you're laying on the couch and not moving, okay? So that's just for you to function. Statistically, they found 1,200 calories or less a day is starvation mode, meaning your body will think you're in a third world country. So basically, when you do that, and I tell this to all my clients, because I have lots of clients that come to me all up to age 80, most of them, I'd say 80% want to lose weight, right? And they come to me and their biggest thing is, oh, I'm counting calories and I'm not, I'm eating this much. And they actually, some of them end up, they're under eating. and they're gaining weight like crazy. Well, why is that? When your metabolism slows down because your body becomes very paranoid and it thinks there's no food around, it doesn't burn what you're eating, it holds on to it. So you actually have to eat enough to be healthy and fit and in shape and maintain your healthy weight. So I am not a big numbers girl because I think a lot of obsessing, back to my days of, you know, my eating, borderline eating disorder. I would say I wasn't all the way there yet, thank God, but it got pretty scary. I counted numbers like crazy, down to I would allow myself about 5 bites of dinner. I would count, and nobody else would know that I was counting. I mean, I was very obsessive with numbers, the number on the scale down to the 0.4, 0.5. So I think numbers are important to a degree, but I don't throw a ton of numbers at my clients. I rather them focus on how they feel, and I do talk about moderation, but I will give you some numbers tonight that I want you to maybe go home and just write this down. And I think you have this recorded for them. But because you guys are very active, can you just tell me about how much you run a week? Can anybody tell me on average? Yes.
3 times.
How many?
3.
And how long do you run for?
Well, on the weekends we do like 5 miles.
Right.
And it depends on what we're doing during the week.
But a long time, right? Okay. So because I'm going to put you guys in the very active category. So meaning you will take your weight, whatever that is, and you're going to multiply by 21 and 25. And that is the range, if you're a runner, okay, that you want to stay in for your body to thrive, not just survive. So meaning the average I'm just going to say maybe 120-pound female runner would need 2,520 to 3,000 calories a day. And that's on the day she's running. On the days that she's not, you could shift back to light to moderate. But again, this is just to show you how many calories you actually, you burn a lot while you're running. And so you have to take that into account, okay? MyFitnessPal is a wonderful app on, I don't know if you guys have iPhones or anything yet, but a lot of people are under eating. A lot of my clients are overeating, but MyFitnessPal is great because if you keep track for a week or so, you can actually really figure out how much you're getting in on an average, and it can shock you. I had one client come to me, she was gaining weight, she was feeling horrible, low energy. She said, I'm eating plenty. I said, I have a feeling you're under eating. I had her keep track on MyFitnessPal. She was eating 800 calories a day. 800, and she had no idea until I made her keep track. So just keep in mind, if you want your body to thrive, if running is important to you and feeling your best is important to you, you have to eat enough, okay? So risk factors for calorie deficits, basically your body having too little food or too few calories. Following a new diet trend, Atkins, keto, intermittent fasting. My whole lifestyle is the no diet mentality, because if you start something today and you can't do the rest of your life, it will backfire on you. And I'm really against extremes. I'm all about balance, and I'll talk more about that. So just ask yourself, whatever I'm doing, can I do this today? Can I do this the rest of my life? If the answer is no, then really, really think hard about what you're doing. If you're exercising for prolonged periods of time, if you catch yourself saying, well, hey, I need to get in shape or whatever, and you find out that you find yourself working out way, way more, stay on top of that. Vegetarians or vegan athletes, of course, you can totally do that. You can be vegan, you can be vegetarian, but you have to take into account that you're getting protein, you're getting enough calories, because it is very easy to undereat. You're eating a lot of whole foods, and that's amazing for you, but you can also undereat, and it's very easy to do so. Sudden increase in training volume, we talked about that. Patterns, of course, would be anorexia, bulimia. If you find yourself frequently skipping meals, diet pills, laxatives, diuretics, enemas, anything like that, it's very, very dangerous. So the female athlete triad, what it basically is it's a disorder developed by female athletes. It affects the menstrual cycle, energy levels, and your bone mass. So it can impact you in a big, big way. You might not realize it, but years down the road, you can end up with stress fractures, you can end up with osteoporosis at a young age. So it's basically putting out more energy than you're taking in. And over a period of time, your adrenals, which are the little thumb-sized glands above your kidneys, they end up burning out. They're kind of like your hamster wheel, or your powerhouse. So if we were to walk in the parking lot and somebody was running at us and trying to steal our purse, that fight or flight mode would come on, and our adrenals would spit out cortisol and adrenaline, basically saying, hey, run, okay? That's great, we need that. The problem is when we are constantly in a state of high stress, under eating, and running, our body doesn't know the difference. So our adrenal glands tax out very easily. So it's really important to make sure that your body is well cared for and loved, and when your adrenal glands tax out, everything else misfires, okay? So it can happen by accident or it can be intentional. When I began losing weight, I did not know it was gonna go as far as it did. So it's something to just be on top of. Just look at your patterns, okay? All right, so again, we talked about the energy deficiency, menstrual disturbance, low bone density. So who's at risk? Competitive athletes. And not saying you can't be competitive, but just make sure, especially because you're competitive, you have to be on top of what you're eating. Those who play sports that require them to maintain a certain weight or check in on their weight quite often. Those who exercise excessively, those who are obsessive over being thin, those who have poor body image, hello, that was me. Those who suffer with depression, athletes who are pushed by their coach or a family member to be just super successful, and so they feel really, really under high pressure. The symptoms: weight loss, absent or abnormal periods, stress fractures, fatigue, and lack of stamina. So again, I might have been the weight I wanted or what I pictured I should have been, which I was not underweight, I will say. I was very healthy, and I punished my body. So I ended up miserable. I was gonna say, my happiness was gone, my energy was gone, and I was depleted, and what I loved, I could no longer do. So that being said, the number on the scale is not who you are. You need to focus on how you feel. Okay, so how can it be prevented? Eat small meals throughout the day. Back to imagery. I tell my clients, picture your body as well as a bonfire. That's your metabolism. So how do you keep your blood sugar stable, your metabolism going all day long? You can't put one big hump of wood in it. That is my belief. I believe we need smaller meals throughout the day. Our blood sugar does not want to be doing this. That actually puts us in fight or flight mode. That drains our adrenal glands. We actually need small meals throughout the day to keep our blood sugar stable, our cortisol, which is our stress hormone level, okay, and to basically give us energy we need. Our day is long, we're busy, we're active. We need to keep our body fueled. Listen to your body and always eat when hungry and when it's time to eat. Sometimes you won't be hungry, but if you know you're going for a run, fuel your body. Eat a nutrient-rich, well-balanced diet, and do not, avoid any particular food groups, yeah. No extremes, basically, no extremes. Don't take anything out, and I'm very adamant to say that. There's a healthy version to everything, and I'll talk about that. And people say, well, I don't touch bread or whatever. They're not all equal. So there's the healthy version, unhealthy version. Exercise in moderation, and make sure to eat before and after, okay? Get plenty of rest. 8 hours of sleep a night is the goal, minimum, especially at your guys' age. Limit caffeine and other stimulants. Practice yoga and other stress relieving techniques. I'm sure you talk about stretching and helping your body. I know that's what Carrie's about to talk about, and basically preventing injury. So make sure that if you're going to be running your body hard, you're also taking care of it in other ways and exercising in some low-key ways as well. If you suspect you've developed female athlete triad, then speak to somebody right away. I will tell you, I wish I had spoken to somebody earlier. And if you ever suspect that, or if you think you have a friend that might be suffering in that way, maybe talk to an adult. Maintaining a healthy body image. So it all starts with our mindset, okay, on how we view ourselves. We're all beautiful in our own ways, and we're all unique. We're supposed to be unique. We're not supposed to look like the person next to us. And I believe that God made us all individually unique and beautiful. And so we have to practice positive self-talk, down to writing on a sticky note every day, a positive affirmation. You are beautiful, you are loved. Sticking it somewhere you see when you brush your teeth. And basically just telling yourself every day that you are enough and that you are beautiful. We have to celebrate our unique body shape and size. Again, stop looking around and just focus on the body you have and you've been given, and focus on how you feel. okay? When you eat well, it'll all balance out, and that's one thing I say. You don't have to stress about weight if you just eat clean, but love on your body in the meantime. So if you do weigh yourself, this is important, okay? Your weight will fluctuate throughout the month. If you've not started your cycle, you might not notice this, and I hope that, you know, you guys aren't stepping on the scale every day. I will say that. At your age, you really, really, in my opinion, should not be. And I really don't recommend getting on the scale too often anyways, because especially as women, our weight will fluctuate, okay? If it's the week before our menstrual cycle, it could be up 5 pounds of water retention. That's not you, it's water retention, it's natural, it's normal, but that number, again, is not us. So we have to take an account of our hormones and where we are in our cycle. So just if you're gonna get on the scale, make sure you get on the scale remembering that. You will naturally gain a healthy amount of weight when puberty hits. When you're 8 or 9, you're not supposed to look, when you're 12 or 14, you're not supposed to look the same way you did when you're 8 or 9. And so we can expect ourselves to. Our bodies are supposed to gain a healthy amount of weight, so one day we can have children and reproduce. That's why we do gain a certain amount of weight naturally when puberty hits. Hormone fluctuations, again, equal water retention. Again, like I just said, you're not supposed to weigh the same you did before puberty hits. So keep that in mind. So again, maintaining a healthy body image, focus on how you feel and what you weigh. If you're feeling happy, healthy, energetic, you're ready to take on the day, you're probably doing something right, okay? If you're exhausted and you're fatigued and you're hungry all the time, but you're telling yourself you can't eat yet for some reason, because your friend next to you is not eating yet and she's taking diet pills. That's what happened to me. I actually was influenced by somebody that was taking pills that took her appetite away, and I said, I should try that. So just focus on your body and how you're feeling, okay? Consider taking a break from the scale for a few weeks. If you find that you are obsessive over it, just say, you know what? I'm gonna focus on how I feel and how my clothes fit and how much energy I have. If you do weigh yourself again, remember fluctuations are normal. So I'm very into tuning in, because when we tune in, our body can be given what it needs. So what you might need this week, food-wise, or sleep-wise, or stress relief-wise, might be different than last week or next week, depending on where you are in your cycle. Hormones play a big role in what our body needs. We'll be hungry one week, and next week we won't. So we're not robots, okay? So what we need on a daily basis, we have to ask ourselves first. We can't just throw a diet at ourselves or throw a certain amount of calories at ourselves. So ask yourself every day, how am I feeling? Am I energetic, happy, rested, or am I fatigued, depressed, and depleted? So if you ask yourself that, you tune in, you'll start to get an idea of where you are at. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is my energy level today? I'm hoping it's at a 10 if you're about to go for a run. If it's not, ask yourself what you ate last. So what was my last meal? I haven't eaten for a while, I'm about to go on a run. That's a problem. How did my last meal make me feel? Well, it was a bag of chips. I now am exhausted. Or it was an apple and peanut butter. I feel great, let's go for a run. How did my exercise make me feel? And how do you feel after your run? You feel good? Good. So do you eat before your run?
I normally eat just something.
Something. But you feel good after your run.
Yeah.
What you don't want is that you're falling flat on your face. That means something's not right. And ask yourself this, if you're gonna push your body to go 90 miles an hour down the highway, are you giving it equal time to rest? If you're not giving it equal time to rest, then you really need to adjust maybe priorities, your schedule, whatever, to make sure you are getting the rest you need. What is my relationship with scale? Ask yourself that. Am I kind in the way that I'm speaking to my body? Am I talking to myself as I would my best friend? If you're a woman, am I talking to myself as I would my daughter? These are really important questions to ask ourselves. Again, we're all beautiful and we should be celebrated and celebrating our bodies and not tearing them down. Do I have a monthly menstrual cycle? Of course, if you don't yet, not a question for you, but if you do have a monthly menstrual cycle and all of a sudden you find that it's not every month or it's every 6 weeks versus every 4 weeks, and you just notice your cramps are really bad or you're clotting more, these are important and very, very important things to look for. This means you're estrogen dominant, meaning your progesterone is low typically, and it also can show that you have very low body fat. So just keep in mind, your menstrual cycle is kind of like your report card, okay, every month. And so just kind of stay on top of that. Okay, what does a balanced diet even look like? And don't throw darts at me if you are on keto or anything. I respect that, but I will just tell you, from being a nutritionist for 9 years, I've had people come to me countless times and say, I've done Atkins, I've done keto, I've done Weight Watchers, whatever, and I lost weight, I gained it all back. Ask yourself this: can I weigh food the rest of my life? Can I count points the rest of my life? You know, can I take out an entire food group the rest of my life? No. If you can't do something today, if you can't do something forever, don't start it today. Okay? So that being said, we have, did you say there's a pointer on this?
Yes.
The top?
It's the big middle thing.
Oh, great.
There you
Okay. We have our fats, we have our oils, we have our sweets. Use sparingly. We're going to talk about 80-20 in a second. Ladies, you need healthy fats. Healthy fats fuel your brain. Healthy fats build the right amount of hormones and the right amount of cholesterol. You need cholesterol to build hormones. Cholesterol is not all bad. That is also a misconception. It's the type of food you're eating. So healthy fats: coconut oil, avocado, nuts, seeds, fish, olive oil. We need these, so don't be afraid of them. Real butter. There are lots of healthy fats that we need. Milk, yogurt, and cheese. I personally am 80% of the time dairy free, so I focus on a lot of like coconut milk and almond milk and things like that. But then sometimes I still do have dairy. But this whole section right here is protein. Okay, so we have our meat, meat, poultry, fish, dried beans, eggs, and nuts, and then of course milk, yogurt, and cheese. Fruits and vegetables. So this is some areas that people come to me, and I have them kind of take a food journal or write a food journal for me before they come see me. And I noticed this section is missing. How many people get 5 fruits and vegetables a day total? Yeah? Okay. Do you guys know what a serving size of fruits and vegetables looks like?
Go ahead. What is the raspberry? 10 raspberries is 1 serving size.
Well, I don't count, and I'll tell you right now, do you want to count 10 raspberries out? No, that's no fun. It's your fist. Hopefully, Lord willing, your fists or your hands are staying with you the rest of your life. Okay, this is your size of your rice, your pasta, your fruits, your vegetables. So the good news is, if you're behind on your veggies for the day and you're having broccoli, you're probably gonna have 2 servings of one, so keep that in mind. But yeah, it's the size of your fist, okay? All right, and also we need these to, they're antioxidant, they're our antioxidant source. We wanna look back on our day and we wanna see a rainbow of colors because we're protecting our body then from disease, cancer, collagen breakdown when we're older, things like that. But they keep our immune system healthy and strong, keep our digestive tract going. So you wanna be able to look back in your day and see colors. If your entire day is white and tan, there's a problem, okay? So we're talking about small meals throughout the day. About every 3 hours, you should be grazing. I call it the grazing lifestyle. You should be eating. Try to squeeze a fruit and veggie in there every single time you're eating, okay? Carbohydrates, they are not the enemy. And you will hear people, and you might be told by people to take them out. But when you do, you will harm your body. Eventually, your thyroid will be damaged. They have proven even that people doing keto and things like that eventually end up with hypothyroid symptoms because your thyroid actually needs a certain amount of carbohydrates to function. It's your body's #1 source of energy. Okay, so if we are running and we're not just sitting all day, remember the BMR where we're laying on a table all day? No, I'm talking if we're running on top of that, we need carbs even if we were just sleeping all day. Our body does need some form of carbohydrates. But if we're running, this food group cannot be taken out. I will tell you, fruits and vegetables are also carbohydrates, but I do believe we need a certain amount of grains as well. I am gluten-free. I do recommend being gluten-free. Gluten will not do you any favors. Gluten and dairy are inflammatory. That being said, 80-20, which we're about to talk about. But in this day and time, it's so easy to eat gluten-free. Rice, there's quinoa. There's so many easy popcorn, oatmeal. There's so many easy gluten-free options available, okay? So at the end of the day, you need to look at this. You need to maybe stick this on your fridge and ask yourself, am I missing anything? Also, protein should be at every single meal or snack because it's a glucose stabilizer. Even if you were to eat a healthy apple on its own, your blood sugar is gonna do this, and then it's gonna do this, okay? And so when you combine that with like a hard-boiled egg, a cheese stick, peanut butter, almond butter, whatever, your blood sugar is gonna do this. It's gonna be broken down over a period of a couple of hours versus quickly, okay, and then leaving your system. So if you want sustainable energy, protein has to be at every single meal or snack. All right, carbohydrates, like I told you, body's #1 source of energy. Do not take them out. I have had clients that couldn't lose weight until they added carbohydrates back. Their body was so paranoid because they didn't have an energy source, basically. They were very depleted. Again, there's the right form. Potato chips, I'm not talking about, you know, a bowl of buttery pasta, like, well, gluten-free pasta, sure. But in general, just remember there's a healthy version of everything, so don't shut them out. The Live Healthy with Laura motto is, again, don't start something today you can't do the rest of your life. If that's your motto, you will go through life, you'll hear people doing fad diets and all of that, and you'll just ask yourself, can I do this every day? No. Okay, I'm gonna move on. And then that way it's never gonna backfire on you, and you're not gonna punish your body in the process, which a lot of young girls do by doing extremes. 80-20. So I want everybody, or whoever is available, whoever is willing to talk, I want you to tell me your favorite splurge. Like, what is something that you just love?
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake? I'm an Italian girl, so like I want lasagna and tiramisu, personally. Can anybody tell me what they love? Like, ice cream? Okay.
Cheesy rice.
What?
Cheesy rice.
Cheesy rice, okay.
Chocolate chip cookies.
Chocolate chip cookies? Okay. So I'll just tell you, life is too short to not eat your favorite foods, okay? And my clients are happy because when I tell them that, I've had Italian clients that have not eaten pasta for years trying to lose weight, and I tell them you can eat pasta again. And let me tell you why this works. Extremes don't work, you tire out. 80-20 means 80% healthy, clean. We know we're eating whole foods that our body thrives off of, and hopefully most of them without an ingredients label. If they are containing an ingredients label, 5 ingredients or less is goal. But 20%, whatever. If I'm craving a cheeseburger, I'm gonna crave a cheeseburger. A couple meals a week, and you wanna indulge, go for it. Because what this does is, #1, it keeps your relationship with food extremely healthy. All right, you're never telling your body no. You're never telling yourself, no, I can't touch that, I can't touch that. Foods are not bad, foods are not good. You're not bad, you're not good, depending on how you eat on a day, okay? You're just living your life. So I absolutely hate the words cheat meal. When people come into me and say, oh, I had a cheat meal this week, Laura, I don't want to hear that word because you're cheating, you're on a diet. 80-20 means you're living your life. So 80% healthy, 20% indulgent. You want a cheeseburger, have a cheeseburger. You're runners anyways. All I can say though is you have to be honest with yourself and look at your ratio and say, okay, what's my ratio like? Is it 50-50? Well, that's a problem. If it's 80-20, you're doing all right. Have the ice cream, cheesecake, whatever, and enjoy your life, okay? I'm telling you, if you get this down now, you will go throughout the rest of your life having a healthy relationship with food, and you won't suffer in the way a lot of people do. And you won't. And if you do something, you won't be dealing with extremes and it backfiring on you and your health backfiring on you. So learn the 80-20 principle now. Okay. Lastly, I love this quote by Ellie Krieger. In my food world, there is no fear or guilt, only joy and balance. So food, again, is not the enemy. It's a blessing to us. Learn to enjoy it. Learn balance. Okay, run from extremes. Talk to yourself lovingly every single day. And yeah, that's all I have. So thank you so much. Are we doing questions later? Okay.
All right. Thank you, Laura. I hope you guys learned a lot with the nutrition. So first of all, I know you guys are runners. Do it. All right. So I know you guys are runners, but do you guys play any other sports or do any other sports?
I play field hockey.
Field hockey?
Soccer.
Soccer?
I like to rock climb.
Rock climb, I love rock climbing too. Anybody else? Okay. So a little bit of history since we are all women here, okay? So, and a little bit before that. So I did gymnastics, I also did soccer. And then after I retired from gymnastics, I got into triathlons while I was in PT school. So I do a combination of running and triathlons now and just trying to keep up with my 2 young boys, okay? So as far as history in females go, prior to 1870, women could only participate in recreational sports, which meant that you could not compete. You couldn't go to any of these races. You just had to watch, okay? But then a big change happened in 1870, actually 2 big changes. One was the women's rights, which showed that women basically made equality for women and men to be able to go and participate in these kinds of things. And then the other one was the Title IX. So the Title IX was a paper that was presented that involved basically a federation, and they made a statement that allowed women to participate in sports, in colleges, and eliminated that sexual discrimination, okay? So when that happened, women became available and were able to participate in sports, collegiate sports. The first sport for women to participate was in 1892, and it was college basketball, okay? So that's kind of a little history to let you guys know where we've come from and where we are now, okay? So now, I want to get into some anatomical considerations for you guys. So what I put up here is, what is the difference between a man and a woman, okay? So in a female, we tend to have shorter legs. We tend to have a lower center of gravity, okay? So our gravity is going to sit lower, whereas on a man it's going to sit higher. So it's going to be different there. We tend to have smaller body frames and, in general, smaller bones. We have narrow shoulders, and with the narrow shoulders, we tend to have a narrower rib cage, which is going to affect our breathing, okay? And we'll talk about that in a second. We have smaller ligaments or muscles, and we also have increased laxity. And we're going to talk about the menstruation cycle and kind of how that affects us in women, okay? We have a smaller heart, a wider pelvis, and then we have a greater valgus in elbows and knees, okay? So that's going to be the angle of the knees, okay? So all of this sets us up differently than a man. So when we're trying to compete in certain sports, when there's a man and a woman, it's going to be different, okay? So I just want to put that out there. So this is the Beighton scale. What I just want to point out with this, it's not necessarily going to say that you are going to be injured if you are high on the scale, but it's just reminding yourself that if you're a higher laxity, that you should be protecting yourself more. So what this is a scale, you're looking at both sides minus the flexion. So the first one is, and I'm going to tell you, I'm high on the scale, okay? So can you reach over, and how close are you getting to your legs there? I already got a score of 1 there. Do you have hyperextension in both elbows? Do you hyperextend in the knees? Can you touch your thumb down like this, okay? And then the last one, we're looking at that pinky. Can you bend it past 90, okay? So if you can do a lot of those, again, it's right, left. If you have that high score, you have higher laxity in your body. And so you have to learn to protect yourself and build your strength so that you don't get injured. So some physiological considerations are the fact that we as women have a lower metabolism, okay? We also have a lower aerobic and anaerobic capacity compared to a man. Our VO2 max is lower by 10 to 30%, okay? Our strength in our upper extremity is 40 to 70% as strong as a man, and in our legs we are 60 to 80%, okay? Now, here's something interesting. I know Laura was talking about body fat. After the age of 6, all females have a greater body fat, I misspelled that there, than their male counterparts. A greater percentage, so we have a greater percentage of body fat to body weight, okay, after age 6. So you can't compare yourself, okay? And then lastly, we have the presence of estrogen. A man will never have that, okay? So here are some female conditions, and yes, I'm going to throw one in there that can affect men, but these are things that tend to happen to women. First of all, we all have menstruation, and we're going to be talking about that in a little bit more detail. We can get pregnant. okay? We have a higher risk of osteoporosis and bone density issues than men. Men can still have this issue, but we are at a higher risk. And this is all due to the presence or absence of our estrogen and other hormones that are unique to a female body, because we are very special. Now, the anatomical differences make us a higher risk for shoulder impingements, for a snapping hip syndrome, for ACL ruptures, patellofemoral syndrome, and stress fractures, okay? So those are, you know, those conditions or those anatomical differences, men can still get those, but we are at a higher risk, okay? So we're gonna go back to this female triad. And Laura did a really good job talking about the nutrition, and I'm gonna be taking over and talking about the bottom two. But I just wanna point a couple things out here, right here. 78% of female high school athletes meet the criteria of a female athlete triad, okay? 65% of female high school non-athletes also meet the criteria for a female athlete triad, okay? So we have a very high risk for this. And something that I also want to point out, originally when they were kind of coming out with this condition, or it's not a condition, it's a, you know, this triad, they used to think that it took all three parts in order for you to have issue. Now they're actually realizing that it can be one part or two parts or all three parts for you to be considered this classification, okay?
So wait, just to answer, so you're saying 78% of all high school athletes have at least one of those?
Correct.
Not all three, because in my mind, triad is 3.
Correct.
Okay.
So their classification though is now that if there's one issue, there's probably an underline of one of the other issues that is also going to come up, okay? But they may just be seeing one of those, okay? So who is at risk? I know Laura was talking about this. I wanted to kind of narrow it down to more sports. So gymnasts, and I can tell you from my own, we weighed in all the time. I did a thing called acrosport gymnastics, which meant it was more similar to cheerleading in the fact that we were doing pyramids and different things like that. And I had a point in my life that I was on diet pills and other things like that, just trying to maintain, even though I was a growing adolescent. Okay, there was never a time where it was necessarily that was unhealthy, but I had this stress on me that I had to be smaller and maintain, even though my body type was very different than some of the other girls that I was trying to be like, okay? Dancers, swimmers, cross country and track runners, soccer players, and basketball players. Those are kind of some of the top ones. And then I did point out there that we can have one or all three parts. So let's talk about anti-flow, okay? Anti-flow is normal. It is nothing that we should be ashamed of, okay? It is part of being a female, okay? So the menstruation cycle starts with menses, which is where you have blood loss, okay? And throughout it, there's some wonderful things that happen. So, and we're gonna talk about what's normal in a second, but what I wanna point out is right here in the hormones. As you can see with this graph right here, we have a lot of hormones and a lot of things that are changing, and as Laura said, is if we're starving ourselves or decreasing our nutrition, we're gonna throw off all of those hormones, okay? So it's very important to our cycle to allow all that to happen, okay? So what is normal? You could be 8 years old when you start, anywhere from 8 to 13. Okay, that's kind of like the normal range of when they expect your menstruation cycle to start. Your cycle can be anywhere from 21 days to 35 days, and you still fall into normal. Okay, so everybody's going to be a little bit different. And menses, where you have the blood loss, that is can be anywhere from 4 to 7 days. Okay, so that's what normal is. Now, what can go wrong? We can have irregular periods. We can have a period that lasts less than 20, or by periods, not talking the actual period, but a period of time. So irregularity, like menstrual cycle. So the period from when one cycle starts to when the next cycle starts again, okay? So it could be less than 21 days, so you could be having a period, a menses more often, or you can start having gaps and start having it where maybe you aren't getting one every month. Maybe it's every couple months. It's also irregular if you start having more, like you don't have a cycle, or to say you haven't had the cycle for 3 months, okay? Very irregular. We want that consistency, You also don't want to have blood loss for more than 7 days. And then you can have some changes in your cycle where you can have heavier or lighter blood loss compared to what your usual is. Okay, so those are all irregular things that we need to put in the back of our mind, so when things are going on, we know that, hey, mom, I need to talk to you. Or maybe we need to go see a doctor, and your mom is going to be that advocate for you. Okay. Other things that can go wrong, ovulation, which is, you don't need to think about it so much now, but as you get married and as you decide to have a child, ovulation is what's going to happen so that you can get pregnant. Okay, that is where the egg occurs. And if you are having irregular periods, you are most likely having irregular I can't talk, ovulation, and all of that, you may not be able to get pregnant. Okay, and then lastly, amenorrhea is losing your cycle. Okay, so those are some different things that can go wrong. So there are reasons for amenorrhea. One of them is pregnancy. You can also have hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is exercise associated. Okay, so it can be exercising too much and kind of going along with the nutrition. You're not getting enough nutrition in, and so then you start losing your cycle. And then some other things could be pituitary tumors, ovarian failure, polycystic ovarian disease, those type of things. So the athletic amenorrhea, just so I just brought up, they typically can only diagnose it by exclusion. Okay, so, but it's not ever normal. But they have to rule out other things before they can figure out that that's what's going on. In our general population, if you have all females out there, about 5% of all females have the athletic amenorrhea. And in female athletes, 10 to 20% of females, you will lose your cycle. Okay, still not normal. And we go into both the long distance runner and the professional ballet dancer. They're at a very high risk. 40 to 50% of them don't have their cycle. Okay, so they're setting themselves up for other failures down the road. So treatment. Our most important treatment is that we need to address the irregularity. Okay, but we first have to recognize the fact that it's happening, which is why this education is really important. Okay, the more we know about our female bodies, the more we can catch those things, and the faster that we can get ourselves to be able to get help. So it might be that you go follow up with your family doctor. You might go see an OBGYN, which is a women's specialist, and they might even send you to an endocrinologist. But a full workup is important, not just being placed on the pill. And I can tell you from my own situation, I had a similar issue with this later on in life, and when I actually followed up with a health professional, the first thing they did was to put me on the pill. I didn't recognize it. I was not educated at that time. I went with it. It fixed my cycle. Everything came on back. But down the years, after being on the pill for several years and it just being, just hiding everything that went on, when my husband and I decided to start trying to have a child, it became very difficult because I had underlying issues that were never resolved. So I had to actually have help and fix those issues to have my two beautiful boys that I have. So that's why I say don't just allow them to put you on that birth control. Go ahead and get a workup and figure that out if you ever run into that issue. So the other things that can happen when you lose your cycle is that, like I said, you can lose your ability to be able to get pregnant. You can also have bone loss. And some of the bone loss is irreversible, which is going to lead to osteoporosis. In the short term, you may not be classified as osteoporosis, but that's where you're going to start getting stress fractures and other bony injuries that can occur even at this young age due to some of these issues. So osteoporosis, if you look at this little picture here, so this is what a healthy bone looks like, okay? This next one, you can see that there is more holes in the bone, more porous. That is what osteoporosis looks like. It's just the breakdown. You have all the classification is going to depend on the density of the bone, the internal structure. We need that calcium for our bone to be able to stay strong, okay? So when we have that decreased bone mineral density, we can have nutritional deficiencies, we can have hypoestrogenism, and stress fractures, okay? So here's a few questions I want you guys to just think over. You can have a conversation with your mom later if any of these kind of jot your mind, okay? But the first one, have you had your menstruation cycle? And if you haven't, that's okay. You're still in that normal range, but we do know that it's gonna be coming, okay? And you kind of want to know how old were you when you had your first menstruation cycle. Because if you are 16 when you had it, that falls out of the abnormal. So you might even be thinking about other issues that may come up. You can't change that, but maybe you can if you're lacking the nutrition right now, okay? So when was your most recent period? How many periods have you had in the past 12 months? Are you presently taking any female hormones or birth control? Are you trying to gain or lose weight? Are you on any special diets or avoiding certain foods? Have you ever had an eating disorder? Have you ever had stress fractures? And have you ever had low bone density? Okay, so those are just things that kind of can jot a conversation there, okay? So, on to a few other things. So, we are runners, and I'm gonna point out what I wanna do is I wanna talk about a couple different exercises that are really important for you as women. We see this a lot in the therapy clinic as far as where your weaknesses are. So I'm gonna give you guys a jump start. You guys are runners. I know you guys like to get out there and have fun and you're trying your hardest to run faster. But if you can do a couple of these exercises and you do them even if it's every other day, you will start getting stronger. You will also be able, if you have a weakness in your hips or core, you'll be able to start fixing it, okay? So it will actually make you be better than the other girls your age because you're actually working on the issues that almost every girl has out there, okay? So the first one, I've thrown kind of a combination, but I'll say out of the two, a side plank is gonna be the most important. So how many of you guys know what a side plank is? Okay, so a side plank, what I want you to be able to do, you want to be able to get down into this position. You want to be able to be in a straight line, just like this, okay? So you should be able to hold it a decent amount of time, okay? I would say shoot for at least 30 seconds, okay? And then you want to be able to do both sides equally. We're looking for that balance. And just because I threw it on there, a great neutral core strength is also just a plank there, okay? So those will help you build hip strength on the sides, okay? Core is not just your abs. It encompasses everything in this area, okay? So that is number one. A star balance, okay? This is one that I actually test out my athletes on. We, again, are looking for equal distance between each leg. And there are three areas of this. So there's an anterior reach, a posterolateral reach, and postomedial reach. There are more than that if you ever try to pull up research, but these three directions are the ones that actually will tell you if you're at risk for injury, okay, if there's an imbalance. So a star balance, you're gonna start by balancing on one leg, okay? And the first direction is the forward reach. So your goal is, how far forward can I reach, tap my foot, and come back up? Now I'm gonna compare. So now I'm gonna go to my other leg, and I'm gonna go down. How far can I reach with that one? So anterior reach. Then we're gonna go a lateral reach, okay? So how far back can I go and tap? So you're gonna want somebody else to be able to eyesight this for you too. And then you're going to the other side. So how far can I go that way? And then lastly, the medial reach is like you're a speed skater, okay? So you're going down and around, and again, down and around, okay? So that is the star balance. Lastly, lunges. Everybody probably hates lunges, but lunges are gonna be really important for a runner because you're getting co-contraction of multiple muscles at the same time. So you can do like a normal reverse lunge, and you're always watching where your knee is. If we are lunging and we're going forward like this, we're setting our knee up for failure. It's gonna lead to other issues. So you wanna make sure that we're kind of taking a large step back and we're going down, almost hitting 90 and 90 there, okay? And then we also wanna do a side lunge. So big step out, lunge down, explode and come back in. You can alternate, okay? But those are the 3 exercises that I would say for a female runner are going to be some of the most important ones, okay? They're not gonna say all inclusive, but that's where women are lacking the most, okay? So we are gonna end all this in a running readiness screen, okay? So we're gonna put all you girls through a small little test here, okay? So this running readiness test is gonna be 5 exercises, and Mark and I will be walking around and looking at your form while we do this, okay? Now the key to this is that each exercise is gonna happen for 30 seconds, and for several of them, and I'll point out which ones they are, the first 3, we're gonna use a cadence, metronome, so it's gonna keep a certain beat. So you have to be able, part of the test is being able to keep with a certain pace, okay? So with these, what we are looking at, and I'm gonna show you a video so you can see what we're gonna be doing for each of the tests. We're gonna be doing a wall jump, which is gonna be showing what's called energy return. So your ability to absorb and explode, okay? Then we're gonna be doing an eccentric single leg squat. We're gonna be doing step ups, which both of those are looking at both the eccentric, which is your muscle lengthening while you're strengthening, and a concentric, which is gonna be shortening, okay? And then a plank is that core isometric, and then we're finishing with a wall sit, okay? And if I said 60 seconds, I'm sorry, we are doing 1 minute of each exercise with a 30-second break between. I misspoke there, okay? So this test has a really high inter-rater and inter-tester reliability and a high validity, which all of that in layman's terms means it's a very good test to be able to see if you are at risk to be running right now or if there's things that you can be working on, okay? So that's what we're gonna be able to do, yes?
Yeah, I wanted to just touch on a few things. That's okay?
Yeah, go for it.
So, if you guys are wondering why she listed, you want to go back to those 3 exercises?
Yes.
Those 3 exercises. So when you run, and especially girls, she said a couple things earlier, like women have wider pelvis and they have what's called more of a valgus knees.
Mm-hmm.
So with the wider pelvis, your knees sort of go in.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the boys, when you guys are running, like even just in the warm-up, watch the boys in front of you and watch the girls. Some boys do it, but not very many. Most of the girls, as they step, their knees will go in. So as they're running, their knees are going towards the middle. Most guys stay more upright. They have typically a little bit stronger core, and they usually don't have that knee valgus. So the reason why these are so important is when you land, what's stopping your hip from going out or your knee going in are the muscles right around here. So the side plank, which attaches to the side of your hip, that balance when you're in that single leg and you're doing those exercises, and that's what we're going to be looking at when you're doing those tests. And I can tell you, every single one of you girls do that because I watch you all the time. That's why we try to do all these exercises.
And it's not just you. When I run races, I feel like I need business cards to just hand to people. And some of them, I will tell you, they beat me, and I'm a pretty fast runner. But I'm like, how did you beat me? You were tripping over your own knees. I don't know how you even stayed up, but it's out there. And some people can catch it and fix it and keep you from, our goal is to keep you from injury, okay?
Yeah.
So when Mark started talking about a lot of these, it's, you know, we have a passion to keep everybody out there and enjoying life. It's not just that we want to fix you once you're injured. We want to keep you healthy, okay?
The biggest symptom of these are usually lateral hip pain, knee pain, shin pain, where you're getting the stress fractures a lot in females, middle and high school, or the hips, shins and feet, and it's all because you're not controlling this, and they're just going all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're not a strong runner, it's just that you guys are so good, just aerobically, cardiovascularly, that you're putting a lot of stress on your body. If you correct these things, you guys will be like,
And
fine.
another key for you guys is that it's not that you haven't, necessarily haven't been doing stuff to fix it, just your body is constantly changing. So you're gonna have to actually work harder to keep up with all these changes that are occurring in your body. So,
I have a quick question.
Yes.
When you're doing these exercises, because we go back and forth sometimes, what's the duration and the sets that should be done for this?
so that is gonna depend on what your results are. So it depends on if you're building for strength or if you're building for endurance. So for a runner, I would go for a little bit more endurance. So like a side plank, typically what I tell people to do is you're not just gonna go do one side plank.
Right.
I actually make you do 5. So we're gonna say, okay, you can do, say you maybe can max hold a plank for like a minute. I'm not gonna make you do a minute that many times, but I'm gonna break it down to say 20 seconds, 30 seconds. What can you repeat? It's gonna be hard. By that 4th and 5th set, you're gonna be challenged and you're gonna have to really be like working that last bit because you're working that endurance. So the same thing kind of with the lunges and everything. You're kind of working that endurance because that is what running is. Running, and not, I mean, some of these were more tests and just improving your dynamic balance and that kind of stuff. But when we get into these other ones, I mean, a run is, it's basically, it's a constant jump on one leg. Okay, so that's what you need to build. So it's not, it's not an exact, but if I were to like give somebody, you should easily be able to do 3 sets of 20. Okay, that's what I would say. I mean, you don't want to, again, overdo it. You could be doing lunges all day long. But that's what I would say.
For lunges.
For a lunge, you should easily be able to do 3 sets of 20 if you're running 3 miles. Okay. All right. So we talked about that. So there we go. I'm gonna watch some jumping. This is the wall jump, and I apologize, I didn't have my cadence going, so my jump is actually gonna be slower than what? Come on, no, go back. Okay, so because the cadence is a lot faster and I didn't have my cadence on while I was doing this, you're not gonna be jumping quite as high, but you are still gonna be absorbing. Absorb, explode, okay? So, for the next one, the single leg squat, again, you're not gonna be able to go as deep because you're gonna be watching the cadence, but you should be able to maintain balance and be able to go down into a squat. And what I'm showing you here is what a squat should look like. Watching from the side, I'll turn in a second. You want to keep that knee behind the toe. Okay, so again, because you're going to be doing it against cadence. Then step ups, what I want you to think about here, and what I do, I'm just going to demonstrate for you because you're going to alternate. Okay, so you're going to be going up, up, down, down, switch. So when we do these, yeah, we have a few steps. Do we have enough steps? Yeah, I think so. We can use these ones too, Mark. Okay, a plank, we're holding that plank, okay? So I did not bring the sheets here today, but we will give you a verbal pass or fail, okay? And okay, so, and it's a verbal pass or fail for each exercise, so I want you guys to pinpoint that in your head as to which ones.
I have the sheets.
Oh, you have the sheets. Okay, Mark saved me. I left them in Stafford, so then we get to write on them. All right, the wall sit. Everybody familiar with invisible chairs? All right. So feet at that 90 degree. You want to be able to get down. I do not want to see hands resting. That's cheating, okay? So your hands can be here, your arms can be here. Okay? I only show you for 4 seconds. Come on. All right. So in the end, and we'll keep this up for you guys to see, but we're going to turn the lights for during the testing. But if there are issues that, or things that come up even tonight in the testing, sometimes it is a good job to at least be seen now, get an individualized plan and exercise to be able to build up and fix some of the issues that you might be seeing to keep yourself healthy. So we're always here to be able to help you. And then Laura's information is right here, and we'll be giving you guys, she has some books and stuff over here, but we'll get you guys the information if you feel that you need more information from her or want to discuss anything? You don't. Okay, so we'll just give you a verbal pass or fail. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna turn on the lights. I'm gonna put my mask back on. All right.
Wait, before, does anybody have questions before?
I did a really good job at staying out of the video. Just so you know. I kept on looking over and finding myself walking away from it.
Yeah, you guys.
Yes,
have
any questions before we do this fun?
I heard that.
No? Okay. I guess so. Or that they fell asleep in the dark. All right. So, moms, you are welcome to join in on this test if you guys want to. I will not force you guys to. Okay? Yes. I think everybody, even if you have, you can slip off your shoes for somebody. Give my phone still. I didn't like it as well. All right. So what I'm gonna do to help you guys out is for the test that we're gonna do, we turned the light on, never mind. So we'll just go, everybody can find a wall space, okay? You can spread out everywhere in here.